Okay, guys. Hey, come back. So today I just want to give my thoughts about the Tesla. Uh, there's many, of course, debate about the pros and cons. But right now I'm kind of like just want to see my thoughts. So um, okay, the way I've been doing a lot of research and just being an observer. Um, and one of uh, the greatest failure of a startup company or any company that wants to become like big or new company wants to become like a big company. It's not about um, it's not about money. It's not about the uh, the technology. It's not about the uh, sales or any of those things, but the number one failure factors it's timing. So if you think about timing, it's basically about so I remember this story about when Apple tried to introduce iPad before iPad was introduced. I think it was like 10 years before, and it was a failure for whatever reason. uh, you can put that as a timing issue, right? It could be the market is not ready. It could be the it's too expensive because it's too expensive. It could be because of the design is not good enough. It could be the marketing strategy, the go-to market is also not ready, right? And all of those could be lump sum into a timing issue. But I think one of the biggest thing is probably underestimated. Probably is the market is not ready, right? No matter how good is your product is, no matter um, um, uh, how easy to get it. I mean, you have the really good go to market strategy. It's already available in your eyes. You just have to grab it. If the customer doesn't want it, you know, they don't want it, right? It's as simple as that, right? Um, and that's like the number one biggest failure, the number one biggest important factor why startup that didn't make it. And of course, you can debate all of those things, you know, with regards to what's causing those timing, right? But when you look at the Tesla demand, it's very obvious the demand is there. Like how I know about this is because of the 5 6 years ago when they Tesla wanted to catch what's the demand, and then there's like about 500,000 like people who pre-ordered a Model 3, right? That was like 4 5 years ago. If I can remember. So the demand is there, right? And if you look at the macro economics, like China is gonna the government is gonna mandate by 2000, like in 3 4 5 years, all of the vehicles that's gonna be sold is gonna be electric. Some of the I think the European countries also doing that too, like German or Finland or so looks like the trend is going electric, and people wants it. There's demand for it, right? That's one, and Tesla has that. That has that kind of like kind of kind of magic quality that people want Tesla products, right? So the other point of view is, oh no, it's just going to be like a commodity, you know, just like a smartphone. Right? It's true, it's going to be a commodity. Electric vehicle is also going to be the battery is going to be a commodity. Electric vehicle is going to be commodity, and then the autonomous part is also going to be commodity because many Silicon Valley company also doing it. It's not just Tesla, but it's going to be like 20, 30, or 40 different companies is also doing this self-driving technology. Okay, that's true. But I can also give you like a counter argument of that. What happens to Apple, right? Apple smartphone. Why people still buy Apple phone, right? Smartphone like this is a commodity. Why I choose Apple still, right? And then I can argue, oh, because I like it because of the ecosystem, because it's like it's fast, it's like very reliable, right? Um, and then you can translate all of those into what market wants, right? They want it because all of those factors, right? And you can say the same thing as Tesla because people want it. It's not just because it's some like magical quality out of Tesla out of nothing. Is if you look at what's behind what I think why people want Tesla because it's the model is nice, right? It's sexy. The interior design is like just like very the user interface inside the Tesla is like very zen, very minimalistic, right? And it's designed from the ground up as an electric vehicle, as a like a probably 22nd century vehicle instead of the 21st century vehicle. It's designed from the ground up as an autonomous vehicle, or at least designed from the ground up as an electric vehicle. And if you look at the other manufacturer like Ford, oh sorry, Chevy Bolt, they don't do that. They just have whatever available chassis that they have, and they just slap in, the battery inside the chassis, right? Just take out the engine, right? Um, so the same thing, I think the other manufacturer they don't do that, right? Um, so So that's part of the reason why people want Tesla instead of the rest, right? And then if you look at the other design, like it's just like I already said it's more minimalistic. It's just one like it's basically it's like a uh, it's a smartphone on wheel basically, right? And then if you look at the also the nitty gritty of the I said why why Apple, smartphone is a commodity, but why people still buy Apple, right? Because I like it's very intuitive, very design friendly, user friendly, and it's like reliable. It never hangs, as compared to because I use Android before I use Google Pixel, right? Sometimes it hangs. Um, so and also again, the ecosystem is there, right? Um, so if you look at the Tesla, the battery is also amazing. It's like probably 3 years ahead. There's some, I think, from Arc Invest and the other. Go check it on YouTube. That's San Munro comparing the battery of Tesla with the other batteries. They are like more advanced, right? Because of I don't know. I think it's very technical, but they are way ahead, right? The battery, although it's kind of made by Panasonic, but the battery management system, how they stack it up, whether it's parallel or serial, and then they have a cooling system. All of this are like patented by Tesla, right? And then they have probably like a software on top of that to manage all of the different configuration of the battery and how to manage the battery. So it's like perfectly like I don't know, the energy is like very efficient and so on, right? So all of those like contributing to the why people want Tesla, you know. So it's not just like you can say, oh, it's a commodity because well, yeah, well, how about Apple? Apple I can say commodity, but people still want to wear Apple, right? So um, um, and you can see like Apple, they make their own chip, right? They make their own, I think even like their own neural engine. The new the iPhone X, they have their own like machine learning, like a chip also, and they make their own like I think also like a graphic processor inside it. I'm not so sure, right? That's why it's so seamless. That's why people like it because it's like very reliable. And Tesla is also doing all of these things that they call a vertical integration. They just design their own chip, right? They got kind of ties with NVIDIA, and it's going to be very probably I would say first rate, and it's like number one in the self-driving car world, right? If you look at the performance as compared to the wattage basis, if you look at the new, I think chip of NVIDIA, I think it's about 300 teraflops, something like that, and the new Tesla is only like half of it. But if you look at the wattage usage, I think NVIDIA is like 5 times more, right, than the Tesla. And this is make a significant difference if you put it into the electric vehicle equation, because then you can spend less energy using that chip, and then therefore your drive can probably your car can go longer, right? And that's just one factor. Is other factors that could be benefiting by just using that. It's lighter, it's more energy efficient and so on, right? So all of those factors, and not to mention, if you go to YouTube, go to Sandy Munro, he breaks down basically the Tesla uh, um, chassis apart, the batteries apart, and he really like analyzed the battery and then the motor. And then what I remember from the motor, he compared it with the BMW i3, and he compared it with the Chevy Bolt and Tesla Model 3. I think comparison with the BMW i3, from what I get, Tesla motor, it's smaller, it's cheaper by 10%, yet it's producing about 50% or 40 to 50% horsepower than the BMW i3 motor, right? This is crazy. This is, we're talking about BMW, and I think as compared to Chevy Bolt, even Chevy Bolt, I think is slightly better than and than BMW i3, but Tesla is like the number one. And we're just looking at the motor, right? And we haven't looked at the battery. So if you look at compare it to the ICE car, the internal combustion engine car, the heart of the car is basically the engine, right? The engine. But now the engine, it becomes basically, I think from my point of view, is the battery. That's the engine. Or I can extend it, the battery plus the motor, because the motor is the one that's moving. It's like the dynamo. If you like ever play with remote control car, right? If you like a Tamiya or other remote control car that's powered by battery, it's just basically a battery and the motor, right? So that's basically the engine, right? Um, well, in internal combustion engine and all traditional car, it's just one big engine block with oil, with all of those things, right? The transmission system, right? But in the electric car, that one is just being replaced by basically the motor, right, and the battery itself. So that's like a replacement of the engine. So uh, and BMW, if you just look at the motor is already like losing edge as of probably, I think the analysis just released by Sandy Munro like about a month ago on YouTube. Just check it out. Um, so yeah, they don't, and that's, we're just talking about the motor, and then and on top of that, there's the battery, which is Tesla is also more superior, and then we're talking about the, so that's just the electric part, right? So, okay, so just say, everything is commodity, electric car, fine, but which one would you choose, right? If like everything is like the same price. Like you have 35,000 of Model 3, and then you have 35,000 of BMW i3, which I think is more expensive. Or you have 35,000 of Chevy uh, uh, Bolt, right? Take out the computerized factor in it. Which one did you buy? Like for me, it's like a no-brainer. I mean, it's gonna be Tesla, right? Because the motor is better, the battery is better, the design is better, right? Um, so it's kind of no-brainer. And then so now we are going into the software part, the autonomous driving part, or this yeah, so the autonomous part. So the way I see it is, again, Tesla has the advantage again the other incumbents, right? Um, the way I see it, no other major manufacturer companies or automotive companies that I can see right now is doing this seriously, right? The one I can see like Audi e-tron, and then probably a Chevy Bolt or BMW i3, or yeah, and even the Hyundai Kona EV, the electric vehicle. They don't have the software part. They don't have the autonomous part. So, you know, it's just missing from the equation. Of course, you heard about this Ford Motor is like trying to do it. They are partnering with another self-driving like company. They're buying like 500 million. I don't know, with I forgot what's the name, right? But hey, it's not in the road yet. I do not know when it's going to be realized, right? So um, yeah, and then the other factor is okay, and people said okay, there's this like many like silicon startup is doing self-driving cars, NVIDIA is have this also self-driving chips, right? But NVIDIA is also working with all those startup companies like in Silicon Valley or probably in China or in other parts of the world, right? And they only have one part of the equation, right? They have to integrate it first to even if they make it work, that autonomous part, they have to work with automotive car company like Ford or GM or and so on, right, to make it work. And that's not easy. That's not, you have there's two companies and then you have to work together. There's two cultures. That's not easy. And the way I see it right now. The one who has the competitive edge is Tesla. Although Tesla is doing these two parts at once, right? So the other companies like Ford, or GM, they're just doing the electric car, and then they just buy a separate company for the self-driving because they have no expertise whatsoever, right, for the self-driving part. But Tesla is the only car company, the one I see, at least now, correct me if I'm wrong, who are doing these two parts, the electrification and the autonomous in one go, in one, you know, it's in their DNA, it's in their gene to do that. So that creates a lot of, I think, again, the word is vertical integration, right? You can like design everything from the ground up. It's like from the holistic point of view, right? So I think all of this boils down. It's a very well, some of the people who doesn't like it very commoditized product, but I don't think it's commoditized because it's a desirable product because of all of these like genes to have everything in house vertically integrated, just like why people still buy iPhone when there is like Samsung, there's all that, right? Um, and then I just want to focus more on the autonomous technology of Tesla as compared the others. So many people also said, and then Tesla is among the minority who use the approach of just using camera. And I think they use radar too, right? But they don't use LiDAR, right? They said because LiDAR, it's like a crutch. It's like good for short term to make it work, but it's not good for long term, right? So Elon Musk like to learn to think about really long term vision, right? But if you look at all of the or many, I would say probably 90% of the one who's doing the self-driving technology right now is using both camera and LiDAR, which is from the point of view of safety, you get a sense of okay, it really safe because you have like redundancy, right? Uh, because LiDAR basically the advantage of LiDAR can see through the dark and can sense 3D, three-dimensional, it can sense depth. But with the advance of neural networks and in camera vision, right? Actually, camera also the neural networks can also detect depth or 3D, right? But so it's like toe-to-toe with LiDAR. And the other advantage is LiDAR can see through the dark, completely dark. I got several arguments, I think two arguments. One, who really drives in the dark? You have to turn on the lights, right? A crazy person probably wants to commit suicide. They will drive through the darkness, right? Nobody does that, right? It's crazy, right? You have to, okay. So let's say some crazy person really wants to go through the dark without turning off the lights, right? Let's see they do that. Tesla still has a sensor, a radar sensor. We can good in detecting those kind of, I think, occlusions, right? So those argument, the one, if LiDAR, Tesla doesn't use LiDAR, it will be a disadvantage. I think I would have to agree with Elon for this because it's not necessary because the neural nets and the camera and the radar is enough. It's good enough, more than enough to be able to detect. And then Um, the, 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 the other point that Tesla is trying to make is if you're using LiDAR probably can know there's an object, but it doesn't know what object. It doesn't know whether that object in front is a plastic or a paper or is let's say a tire. That's that something has to be avoided because if it's the object, if it's like a paper, you can just go through it, right? But if the object is a tire, you have to avoid it. You have to like swerve, right? So LiDAR cannot do that. The only thing that can do that is the camera and the neural networks. Um, uh, so that's one of the disadvantages of the LiDAR, right? So it's more important to know exactly how that object relates to you and how you're gonna react to that object. It's not enough just to know there is an object, but you have to know what object and how it behaves to you and you're behaving to that object, right? And so the interaction of you and the objects in the road, that's more important. And that's, you can do that with just with camera and the neural networks. But again, I mean, you can still use like LiDAR, of course. I mean, Tesla can put like a LiDAR on, you know, and then it probably, um, I don't know, I don't think it's gonna do any better because the 3D can be tackled already by the camera. The darkness, nobody drive in the dark, right? Um, even though if there's a like quite a dark radar could solve that kind of, and with the neural net with the camera can also solve that with the also with the advancements of I think it's CMOS. Have you seen the Huawei P3 Pro? That camera is crazy. It's like total darkness, it becomes bright. It's amazing. So again, um, if Tesla want to do that, then it's like a yeah. Elon Musk said it's stupid because it's stupid because first it's expensive, right? It costs I don't know like 10,000 probably now it costs less, but it's still expensive, like in thousands of dollars one the sensor. And second is big. The physicality is big. So yeah, it's gonna like change everything. You have to change the design and everything. You cannot sell it at, you know, like 35,000. It's like it's just weird. It's gonna like, you know, it's not gonna work probably. Yeah, it's not gonna work. So that's my argument. Um, and it seems the neural network, from the last presentation by the Autonomy Day, it seems to be like progressing um, uh, quite well. And okay, what else I'm gonna say about this? Yeah, I think that's yeah, I think that's all. First, so when when people say and then Tesla again about vertical integration, they own the battery and they make their own battery. That's huge, I think, because the battery is like the engine, right? Like, can you imagine like if it's like Ford or Porsche or BMW or Audi, right? Um, okay, Audi is gonna make a like a car, but the engine is outsourced by somebody else, right? No, right? You cannot imagine like that in a traditional like car company. Like, oh, we're gonna introduce our new car, yes, V8 engine, but um, uh, we don't make our own engine. Sorry, we just outsource it to somebody else. They don't even design it properly, right? It's just off the shelf engine, you know. This Tesla designed it kind of with together with of course with Panasonic is making the battery, but they designed the management system. They build it in house in their own factory, right? So so that's a big thing. And then the chip for the self-driving, they also design it. Although I think the maker is Samsung, so it's like kind of like the same kind of relationship with Apple. They design their chip also, but I think they don't manufacture it. I think it's from a Chinese or Taiwanese company, Foxconn, if I'm not mistaken, right? But they still design it, right? So yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, is there a possibility that Tesla can go bankrupt? Yeah, there is, of course, there's a possibility, but how big it is, I think it's quite. Um, as the years goes by, it used to be like I think really, really big. If you probably like 5, 10 years ago, it's really probably like big, probably like 70% it's going to go bankrupt. But as the years goes by, it's going to be 60, 50, probably by now, probably like I don't know, like 10% probably going bankrupt, or even less than that, to be honest. Like because I see like again, I don't have to reiterate how many times I have to say that, but the biggest failure of why many company or startup cannot be successful is demand. Demand. That's it. Demand. Okay. Doesn't matter if you have the right technology. Doesn't matter if you have a good product, good sales. But if there is no demand, you're doomed. If nobody wants it, you're doomed. Tesla has that. Okay. Tesla has the demand, right? Um, So now it's just a matter of, and they have the technology to make it work. They have already the go-to-market strategy. They are vertically integrated. I said they have the best technology up to date right now as compared to the other rest. And they're probably like 3, 4, 5 years ahead than the competition. So the only thing that's they're going to bankrupt probably if they don't manage their cash flow well, and that means if they are too ambitious to just keep on expanding. Because the way I see it, if I were in Elon Musk's head, I don't know, I'll be so like excited because of the many possibilities this can be. Like just like a few days ago, Elon Musk just said, "Oh, we're gonna just create our own insurance like company," just because I think many of the insurance companies are like too afraid because it's like too new. Who wants to like insure like an autonomous vehicle that can drive on its own, right? So this is just one opportunity. And then the other thing that I can think of is the world works with energy. Without energy, the world will stop. Will just grind to stop. Like just imagine like how can I like talk to you over here like recording myself? It's because of energy, right? Everything is moving because of energy. All the food that we eat, right? Who produced that? With the factory. Factory needs energy. The car needs energy. Everything needs energy. And right now, we are moving from fossil soil energy to a kind of like a more electric energy, like a battery, right? And who has that technology? Is the only thing I can see right now is Tesla, who has that a battery to uh, as a tool to way forward for us to be able to move not just the car industry, but as a whole world as a whole to move into these electrifications. Um, and that's amazing. You just see like Tesla has been like putting installation in Australia, has been putting installation in Hawaii. The solar. It's the roof of the house. It's just mind-boggling. Like, oh my God, it's just the opportunity that they have right now. It's just, I think it's a matter of prioritizing which one is kind of has the most bang for the buck first. Right now, I think a few days ago, like Elon Musk said that they want to cut down, I think, the Model S and X just and concentrate on the Model 3, right? And then they also want to um, I think concentrate on the Model 3 like range plus something like that instead of the standard because he sees there is little like kind of demand. The demand is more on the range plus, which is probably the 40,000 kind of price range instead of the 35,000 um, model. So things like that. I think part of the reason I forgot what's the reason. I think it's because of the Um, yeah, I think it's just because the demand is more over there, and probably people realize it's more. I don't know, more just you add 5,000 more and then you get like more energy or more range, something like that. Um, but yeah, I think that's yeah. So I'm long toward Tesla. I've Tesla stock, but I'm not suggesting you have to buy the stock. No, no, please not. Okay, so you have to think on your own. Um, um, but yeah, um, yeah, they can still go bankrupt, of course, yeah. But the probability is kind of small, the way I see it. And even you know, Tesla is I mean, Elon Musk is a billionaire, right? So if he really needs cash, he can just ask his friend. You know, he has I think he has friend Larry Page, like the Google CEO. I mean, they're all like billionaires. I mean, he can easily ask for it. Um, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's just the way I see it. Unless if I misread him, unless he's a fraud. People think he's a fraud. Many people think he's a fraud. But building things is hard. It's stupidly hard. It's stupidly hard. It's especially if you're against like many kind of negative comments. It's even more harder. You know, people who doesn't believe in the vision. But yeah. So uh, give us your comment. Oh my God, it's already like okay, 30 minutes. Okay, fine. All right. See you next time.